When the zombie apocalypse began, a pretty girl decided not to fight the zombies, but to join them. Let's find out how that turned out. In Las Vegas, a zombie apocalypse broke out. Molly and Nick are leaving the city in their car, trying to escape from bloodthirsty monsters. Molly feels unwell, and Nick pulls over to the side of the road. Molly feels nauseous, and when she returns, Nick tries to start the car, but realizes they're stuck in the sand. Nick calls his friend Jimmy, but the call gets cut off, and they can't have a proper conversation. Meanwhile, a lone zombie in a business suit with a tie appears on the road. Nick grabs a gun and fires several shots at the monster. The zombie falls to the ground but gets up moments later. The bullets don't seem to hurt him. Nick and Molly lock themselves in the car as the zombie tries to smash the glass to attack them. It keeps banging on the windows until late at night and then disappears. The couple leaves the car to look for the phone Nick dropped during the attack. When Molly finally finds the device, the same zombie attacks Nick again. Molly realizes there's no saving her boyfriend. She grabs the most valuable items from the car, fights off the monster, and runs away. Now she has to walk through the desert on foot. In the morning, Molly calls her friend Jimmy, and they agree to meet at a small airstrip to fly to Mexico together. Molly trudges through the desert, suffering from the heat. She stops occasionally but soon resumes her journey. It's clear she brought a large supply of water, alcohol, and some white powder with her. Night falls, and Molly lights a fire. The problem with the desert is that it's unbearably hot during the day, but freezing at night. Molly recalls a child and falls asleep. Behind her, the same zombie appears and attacks her. It knocks Molly down, but she manages to fight it off and escape. In the morning, Molly climbs a cliff and tries to train the zombie like a dog. She throws an object to distract it and attempts to escape by climbing down the cliff. The zombie continues to chase her. It's slow and not very smart, but it's incredibly persistent and tireless. Molly suffers from the heat but can't stop to avoid becoming the monster's dinner. Over time, she starts getting used to its company and even mocks it. But Molly's water supply quickly runs out, and the zombie shows no signs of giving up. She spots an abandoned house in the desert and goes inside. It seems no one alive is here, the perfect place to rest and regain some strength. Molly decides to take a nap, but hears a noise outside. It's her old friend Zombie. It seems it tracked her by the scent of blood. Molly hides in the bathroom and then quietly slips out of the house. She needs to continue toward the airstrip, but the zombie notices her again and resumes its pursuit. Molly throws stones at it, but the monster isn't deterred. She has to run once more. Molly realizes she needs to move faster so the zombie can't catch her. She mocks it again, calls it names, and even gives it a nickname, Smalls. That evening, Molly lights a fire, reflects on her past, and drinks in the company of her new friend. The next day, she confesses to the zombie that she never loved Nick and only used him to get to Mexico. Molly runs out of water. She suffers from dehydration but keeps fighting for her life, believing she will reach the airstrip by the next day. Suddenly, a powerful sandstorm sweeps through the desert. The wind is so strong it wipes everything in its path. Molly tries to escape, but falls and loses consciousness. When she comes to, the zombie is gone again. Nearby, a vehicle drives by, and Molly desperately screams for help. Two men, Ted and Jason, step out of the truck. They are alive. The men give Molly water and invite her into their truck. Inside, there's even air conditioning, a real lifesaver in the desert heat. Molly remembers she left her bag in the sands, and Ted and Jason go to look for it. While they're gone, she notices a photograph in the truck of a father and son. Molly realizes Jason is wearing the boy's baseball cap, which means these rescuers stole the truck and likely harmed its original owners. Worse, she notices a prison uniform lying in the back seat. Molly is terrified. She tries to escape from the suspicious men, but doesn't manage to. Ted and Jason demand she show them the way to the airstrip. Molly refuses and says she'll continue on her own. The men then pull a bag over her head, drag her out of the truck, and start threatening her. With no other choice, she tells them the location of the airstrip. Afterward, Ted forces Molly to take care of some business with him. At that moment, the zombie wakes up. It lunges at Ted and bites him. Jason panics and runs off, leaving Molly and his wounded partner behind. Molly watches in horror yet relief as the zombie devours Ted. Exhausted, She sinks to the ground, realizing that Smalls has saved her life. Once again, she has to continue through the desert on foot, suffering from heat and thirst. Molly cries bitterly but refuses to give up. Smalls follows her again. She now considers him not the worst company and starts telling him about her difficult life along the way. Smalls even helps carry her belongings. Molly confesses that she has a 5-year-old son named Chase, who currently lives with her sister Ellie, because she's been a bad mother. The heroine wants to leave the zombie in the desert and ties him to a rock, but Smalls lets out such a pitiful growl and struggles to follow her that she changes her mind and frees him. Molly sets a few rules for the zombie, like not biting her. Smalls seems to understand. That evening, by the campfire, Molly tells her companion about how she and her son made tin can phones to talk to each other. She always carries her can with her and hopes that one day she'll be able to talk to Chase again. The zombie listens intently. A new day dawns. Molly and Smalls are almost at the airstrip. Suddenly, a column of soldiers appears on their path. Molly tries to hide the zombie. 2 soldiers stop to survey the area. Molly begs Smalls to stay off the road and out of sight while she approaches the soldiers, claiming she's heading to the airstrip. But of course, Smalls isn't very smart, so he gets up and walks onto the road. Molly shields him with her body and screams that he's her husband. The soldiers decide to spare them and leave, but one of them still shoots the zombie. Smalls is injured, in great pain, and loses control, biting Molly's finger. Enraged, Molly disinfects the wound with alcohol and then grabs a rock, amputating her finger to avoid infection and becoming a zombie. The pain is excruciating. Molly returns to Smalls. She places him on a small inflatable raft they've been carrying all this time and continues on her way. Finally, the airstrip comes into view, but Smalls is now too weak, and Molly doesn't have the strength to carry him any further. She takes the zombie's wallet from his pocket and realizes he was once an ordinary man. Molly picks up a large rock. She knows Smalls can't go on, but she also doesn't want to leave him to suffer. She ends his misery. Molly reaches the airstrip and calls out for Jimmy. Suddenly, a gunshot rings out and she hides behind a vehicle. Seeing that it's not a zombie, Jimmy lowers his gun. Molly approaches him and realizes something is wrong with Jimmy's mental state. He's panicked because some of his friends have turned into zombies and are now locked in one of the airstrip buildings. On top of that, Jimmy isn't thinking clearly. Molly notices another guy, Robbie, near the airplane. He's been trying to fix the broken plane for 2 days, and he finally succeeds. Jimmy and Robbie start the plane and take off for Mexico. However, Molly decides to stay, as she can't leave her son behind. She climbs to the control tower and calls her sister Ellie, but there's no answer. She calls again and again, and finally Chase's voice comes through. Her son has been hiding at home for several days. Ellie and her husband Blake are nowhere to be found. Molly promises to come and rescue him. She gets into Jimmy's red convertible, but realizes she doesn't have the keys. They must still be with one of the locked-up zombies. Molly is forced to enter the building with the monsters and take on a few of them to retrieve the keys. One of the zombies almost takes her life, but she uses a power drill to win the fight. Molly finds the keys on one of the zombies, starts the convertible, and heads back to Las Vegas. She thinks of Smalls and realizes how much she misses him, but she misses her little boy even more. She has to save him. Molly arrives at the large suburban house where Chase lives and finds the neighborhood nearly destroyed by zombies. It seems there isn't a single living soul left. Molly grabs a shovel and enters the house. Inside, it's complete chaos and destruction. She finds her sister Ellie and her husband, but unfortunately they couldn't defend themselves against the zombies and became their prey. Molly heads to the second floor, searching everywhere for her son. She notices a tin can on the table and breaks down in tears. Suddenly she hears footsteps and grabs the shovel. But it's not a zombie, it's Chase. He's sitting in his toy playhouse, alive and unharmed. Molly promises her son she will never leave him again and will always protect him. They need to leave. As Molly and Chase head for the exit, a zombie breaks into the house. Molly keeps her promise. She grabs the shovel.